Come, Deanie, come this way a little bit. Just for the, there you go. Okay. And like I said, you got to get kind of like this on it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And then you'll sound really good.
All right.
Otherwise, it's kind of hollow.
Gotcha.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Welcome to Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons, joined by Dean Webster. How are you, Dean?
People remember me.
Well, we're going to get into who you are and why you're here in just a couple seconds. Dean was a longtime figure in sportscasting here in the 80s and 90s. We worked together for a long period of time here at 14. Then you got out. And I want to talk about that first. Okay? I want to just get the elephant out of the room.
All right.
So when we started working, I'd wear a suit. You know, we had to wear suits on TV. And you would always make some smart remark. You know, you said, well, Jeffy is selling term our whole life today. You know, insurance salesman, because I had these gray kind of boring suits.
Yeah.
So years later, I'm wandering through Washington Square Mall, and I see a sign, and it says, Dean Webster Insurance. And I thought, well, it couldn't be. And I look in, and there you are in a big wingback chair behind a desk. You've gone completely legit. How'd that happen?
Well, you know, things have a funny way of happening. You know, when I was in college, I started out in business.
I did not know this.
So I started out in business. So
Right.
I always wanted to be in the business world. Always wanted to do, you know, thought sales would be up my alley, and got bit by the communications bug and ended up switching schools and going through, at the time, Indiana State University, Evansville, started the radio station there when it first started. And then funny, the way I ended up in TV was I was driving a school bus while I was in college.
This sounds like a plausible way to get into broadcasting.
Yeah. So I was ending my college career, and I had to take a couple of summer classes. And one of them was an intercession class. It was like 30 days with this, and it was like abnormal psychology, which is I know nothing about. And then I realized that I could do field trips driving the school bus and make money during the day. So I didn't go to that class.
Right. Well, why would you?
Yeah.
Right.
So
you were going to experience all the abnormal psychology you wanted once you got in here.
with the kids.
Right.
So I did not pass the class. I took pass, no pass. And I had a 59 average, and I went and talked to the professor, Dr. Palladino, and he and I have had funny conversations over the years. And I said, you know, if you would have just passed me, I said, I would never be in this situation. And he said, you didn't show up for class. I just can't pass you. I can't in good conscience pass you. And I'm like, all right. So the second summer session, I took a TV internship. Had no plans of being in TV. And I did it at Channel 25. I was there for 6 weeks, and I'm like, this is what I want to do.
And what were you doing? Just carrying a tripod around, or did they put you on the
No,
air?
they
What
put
were you
me
doing?
on the air.
Seriously?
Yes. I started.
Knowing you had flunked abnormal psychology, and they put you on the air anyway.
So I started on a Monday, and that weekend, the weekend news anchor quit. So the sports guy was going to do news and sports. So the first week, 5 days into my internship, they go, well, you'll just produce the 5 o'clock and 6 or the 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock sports. And I'm like, I've got 5 days of experience.
Right. What does that mean exactly?
So I wrote the entire script, edited all of the videotape, learned that in 5 days. and then when my internship ended, they offered me a job, and the next week I was the weekend sports anchor.
So that was a career arc of 2 weeks from wild idea to now you're under the lights reading the prompter and scrambling.
Yeah.
And that would begin a long series of scrambles for you, right?
And then I was 3 years at Channel 25, and Channel 14 called, and of course everybody wanted to be at Channel 14 that was in the business, and I had great admiration for Mike Blake, and that one funny Mike Blake story. So while
there will be many.
Yeah,
by
there
the
will
way.
be many. So while I'm not at Channel 14 yet, I am driving down. I'm downtown Evansville, right by where the museum is.
Okay, Riverside.
And so I'm waiting to pull out on Riverside, and I get bumped from behind by a car, and I look up in my rearview mirror, and it's Mike Blake.
Of course, that's how he hires people. You know, he bumps them.
And I'm like, well, it didn't bump me all that much, so I just drove on. So I drove to wherever I was going. And he pulled in. He's like, oh, Dino, I am so sorry. My foot slipped off the brake. And
That old line, right?
That old line, yeah. So I thought, boy, he's really intense. I mean, we're competitors, and he's just going to run into the back of me. But he evidently it was an accident.
Yeah.
Didn't hurt my car. Didn't hurt his car.
Your first day here, you should have worn a neck brace, really, just to kind of rub it in. And it wasn't a graceful departure from 25 because they didn't really like it when people left there to come here, right?
No, it was odd because so you have super secret meetings,
right?
So I had the super secret meeting with Channel 14 people, and the next day they call me in, and it's like
25 called.
Called me in and said, we're going to move you off of sports and into news. And I'm like, wow.
And you'll be trimming the shrubs around the parking lot too.
So then the next time I meet with the people from 14, they're like, okay, this is when you're going to start. And so I'm like, okay. So I go to work the next day, and I'm going to work a Saturday. And when I pull in, the news director's car's there and another reporter's car's there. And I'm like, apparently I'm going to get fired.
Yeah, this will be the end of me.
So it worked out great because I was off for a month. I got paid for every day. They gave me 2 weeks severance, and I had vacation built up.
Right.
So at 26 years old, I was off for a month.
Free agent? Not exactly, because you'd signed here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then my first day here was the telethon, and Mike Blake introduced me as the new guy at Channel 14.
When did he tag you as Little Deanie? When did that happen? Because I only knew you as Little Deanie, and Mike would always say it that way.
Mike has so many nicknames for people.
Yeah, I was Jeffy, Jeffo, a few other things. But
Kevin D here, he's Little Kevin.
Kevin, right.
Everybody was little, I think, to him because he was such a big personality.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And ironically, Mike and I have remained great friends over the years. We still have lunch, as you well know. We still have lunch every Monday. And I look forward to those. Sometimes you pop up.
I do. I'm sometimes a featured lunches. Guest star.
Yes,
they can't get somebody.
We have what we call guest stars to come in. Yep.
So I want you to talk a little bit about. Well, actually, I want to skip back one because I've never gotten the call up from the big State Farm, American Family. Never called me to do the insurance bit. So I'm waiting. I know there's a gap now in the market since you're retiring.
Yeah.
But
so when I left TV, I wanted to get back into. I wanted to go into sales.
Sure.
Because we had young kids. I had young kids, so I really wanted to get more of a traditional
stable hours and
work
the usual
so,
thing.
As you well know, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I was looking at some different things, and actually, there's a sales job came open at Channel 14 back in the sales department. So I went back there and we talked to them, and there wasn't really a big difference in salary, and I couldn't really see where I was going to make that much more than I was making. So I looked elsewhere, took a job with a printing company back when people actually used printing. They didn't have laser printers at home before the internet. No, it's like it was almost like that. So I sold labels and envelopes and stuff and catalogs for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then when I didn't take that TV sales job, a guy named Matt Walker, who was on air for a short time, he took that job. And so Matt and I would meet, kind of like Mike and I do now every week, and would talk about sales stuff. And he comes in one day and he says, I'm going to be a State Farm insurance agent. And I go, oh. And so his first day of training there, he calls me and says, hey, there's an opening to sell life insurance. And
there you go. See, this is a payoff,
here's
right?
Your joke.
Long setup, but that's all right.
Yeah. So I went and talked to him, and I worked for State Farm Corporate for a number of years selling life insurance. And then I was a State Farm agent for a year until City in 2005 and realized that it just the corporate world and the captive agency was going to be a hard gig going forward. So that's when I came back to Evansville and started my own Dean Webster insurance agency.
But it must have been weird because, now we're going to talk about the TV and the broadcasting and the zany part of your life because it is. I mean, there's no 2 days around here where you either can predict what's going to happen, you run into weird people, and there's that deadline. You always have to have something, yesterday. So what was that like then to go down and kind kind of decompress, and now you just go into the office. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's more to it than that, but you don't have that clock breathing down your neck anymore.
You know, I used to have nightmares. I'd wake up and think it was 6:20 and I had not prepared.
This might be that nightmare right now. Inside look may be that nightmare.
I used to wake up and have nightmares of like I didn't have my sportscast prepared.
Right.
And it's 6:20 and you wake up and you're like, oh, it was a dream. Thank goodness.
So you were in sports in the 80s and 90s. That was kind of the golden age, really, in local TV news.
Really
We didn't have the internet yet. There wasn't a competition as you would think of it. I mean, you had radio, you had newspaper, but of course newspaper was next day, box scores, stuff like that. They could do long form, but you were really in the thick of it, going out, shooting highlights and all that. And I don't think a lot of people realize how close you sports guys cut it, especially back then when we were dealing with the editing process was kind of cumbersome. So you had to have had a few near misses along the way, right? Where you thought, well, this is never going to go on.
Had a little adversity. So you a lot of times you're by yourself. You would shoot it by yourself. You would, turn the dome light on in the car. You're riding, you're driving. I remember one time I was I was either in Tell City going to Heritage Hills to South Spencer to Castle, and on those back roads, and I'm writing my script from the previous game, and I looked up and there was no road, and I just guessed that it went right, and I just swerved to the right, and fortunately there was a road, and by the grace of God didn't end up in a field somewhere.
And you got your stuff on at 10 that night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, there was times where you were running tapes through the newsroom, and, remember the old broadcast news where they're slamming the tape in? And it really is like that a lot of times.
It is, and right down to the second. And you and I, of course, doing news and weather, or sports and weather, we would have to be out there. I remember for the opening shot of the newscast, just for 5 seconds, we had to be in our little chairs, and we were both working down to the last second. There were oftentimes we would run in, they would take the shot, and you could see like your hair falling into place, and things were moving. David James would be in the middle, very stately, and probably irritated because and then as soon as that camera went off, we were out of there. Chairs were spinning, and you're trying to do the work. So when you got into sports, of course, you talk about sales, which is really what your entire career has been, one way or the other, sort of public relations. You got to know all the coaches, you got to know all the kids, the games, and all that stuff. Were you a big sports guy in like high school? Did you play sports, or what'd you do?
Well, I used to. My parents would, you've heard these stories where the parents would come in like, "Are you sleeping?" And like, I'm listening to Jack Buck and Harry Carey, a West Coast game. They're playing, the Cardinals are playing the Giants, and I've got the transistor radio, got the earplug in. I'm like, yeah, I'm sleeping, and but I've always wanted to be in radio, and it was crazy. I wanted to be in radio. I didn't want to be in TV. So, radio was the passion.
Well, this is kind of radio. Podcasting is today. We'll call it that, right? So you can feel fulfilled. So you did, in essence, it was television because you and Mike were covering Aces games, but you were doing color play-by-play, which essentially is kind of like radio because you're not really seen, but yet you have to have the preparation and everything. And you guys went all over the place, didn't you? It wasn't just going out to Roberts Stadium. This was all over the Midwest.
So when I came on board at Channel 14 in 1986, and so Mike was going to do the Aces games, and I was going to fill in for him, when he was gone, and we couldn't find the right color guy to do the games with him. And so they called me in. They're like, "So you played sports growing up, right?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I played basketball and I played baseball and I'm a love of sports, yes." And so they're like, "Well, how much basketball do you know?" And I'm like, "Enough to be dangerous." And like, "Could you do the color?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to do the analytics of coming off screens and that kind of stuff in great detail like some of the guys can. But I can talk about the game." So Mike and I did the games, and I was the color guy for a couple of years, and then Mike needed to be here doing the 5 o'clock news for ratings.
Right. Oh,
so
yes.
we were,
Can't be gone in November.
Can't be gone in November. So then I ended up doing the play-by-play with various people doing the Aces games. But that first year, we did every University of Evansville game, home and away. We even did home games. They were tape delayed. There was 11,000 people every night watching it. Then they would go home and watch the replay.
Is that right? And so what's the farthest you had? I mean, I know. Did you go to Hawaii or
Did not go to Hawaii?
But you were like at Creighton, which is
Yeah,
Omaha or
we would,
Nebraska.
yeah, we
right?
would, and it was great when we were in the Midwestern cities because we went to Chicago and Detroit and Cincinnati and Indianapolis and nice big, big towns.
Yeah.
And then we joined the Missouri Valley and we went to places like Cedar Falls, Springfield, Missouri.
Well, walk us through that. Okay, so the game is let's say Thursday night. You're going to Creighton.
Yeah.
So what was the process around here? Kind of streamlined. First, of course, you're going to be on the road at some point. You got to have travel time, and I'm sure it was set up so that there was not 1 minute where you could just sort of sit around, right?
Yeah, you want to hear the worst story ever.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
That's it,
so-
because this is what
Yeah.
Inside Look is all
Yeah,
about. The
so,
worst stories ever.
The worst story
day
ever
of your
is
life.
We're going to go to Chicago and preempt. First of all, we're going to preempt Cosby, Family Ties
Here on NBC,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So we're going to preempt, all the powerhouse Thursday night games, which is already an unpopular decision,
Right.
But so Mike and I were going to go to Chicago to do the game. So a guy that traveled a lot to go to a lot of the Aces games, he would sometimes be on the airline with us, and he even, I think, drove us to a couple of games. And so we were going to go to Chicago, and he calls and says, "Hey, there's a big snowstorm coming in. Maybe I'll just drive you guys up there."
Yeah, that'll work.
And we're like,
What
nah,
could go wrong?
We've already got the plane ticket. We'll just. And he's like, okay, well, I'll pick you guys up. We'll go to the airport, and I'm flying up with you guys. And we're like, great. So sure enough, snowstorm hits. We go to the airport. We're supposed to have a 6 o'clock flight to Chicago, 6 a.m. flight to Chicago. We sit there and it's like 10, and then it's 11.
What time's
and
the
then
game that night? Like 7?
7 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's like approaching noon, and they're like, well, they're not going to take any planes from Evansville in O'Hare. So we fly to Memphis.
Right.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's right on the way.
Yeah. So we fly to Memphis.
Go to Graceland.
And so we're in Memphis, and we get on a plane, and we're going to go to Chicago. So, now it's like mid-afternoon. It's like 3 o'clock.
For a 7 o'clock game.
For a 7 o'clock game. So we're thinking, we're looking at our watches. We're like, okay, we're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So we get to Chicago, and all of a sudden you can kind of feel the plane like going, it should be going down. It's going up.
Right.
And the pilot gets on, and he says, the captain says, "This is your captain." And he said, "We're going to have to do a corkscrew down. The president is in the airspace."
No.
So we had to do the big corkscrew. All these planes are doing circles,
Making room for Air Force One.
Yes. So you had to be outside of
Right.
3 miles or whatever it was. And
Did the president not know you had a game to do that night?
At 7 o'clock. So now we're like, okay, now it's starting to get close. So we land on we're on the tarmac, and we're like, okay, we're still pretty good. Everybody just remain in your seats. They're filming a scene of Home Alone 2 in Chicago.
At the airport.
At the airport. We're like, okay, so here we sit. Oh, it gets better, Jeffy.
Now, where do you have to get to after the plane? Just the Rosemont Horizon?
Yep.
Right there.
Yep.
So you're close. You could almost run there, right, if you had to.
Fairly close,
okay.
but still.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah,
so they're filming Home Alone.
So
you're
we,
on the plane.
We get off the plane. Sure enough, here's cameras and the tracks with where the cameras are supposed to be. So we get our stuff, and of course we've got our third wheel here that's going to help us. So we grab our stuff and we get in the cab, and we can see the Rosemont Horizon, and we're just driving down the road, and all of a sudden we are doing a spin. Somebody has run a stop sign and hit our cab, and we are spinning. We're spinning around in the intersection. And so the cab driver is like, "Is everybody okay?" We're like, yeah, we're okay. And our third wheel, Richard, he goes, "You guys just go. I'll get your stuff. I'll check into the hotel." And so Mike and I run across the interstate, run across the parking lot, and we
your little briefcases and your makeup kit and all that stuff.
So now it's about 20 till 7.
Game starts at 7.
Game starts at 7. we come rolling in, and the producers are all looking like the producer of our show, Bruce Valines, the late Bruce, bless his heart. He's like, Man, am I glad to see you guys. And so we sit down, we do the game, and at about the second time out, we turn around, and Richard has now sat down behind us and gave us the okay sign that our luggage is in our room.
Right.
We
All lawsuits are settled.
Yeah. So yes, there was adversity, Jeff.
But see, you got a story out of it.
We do have a
and
great,
it's a good story,
great,
you know, and
great story.
everybody lived. Did the Aces win after all that? You don't even remember.
I don't
right.
know. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah,
I'll have to
little
look that
piece
up.
of trivia
Yes.
for you there. And of course, you know, because of the era that you worked, 80s, 90s, you were here with Marcia Yockey
Yes.
for a good chunk. And for
Yeah.
those who don't know, we have young listeners on this. Did you know that? My
yeah.
daughter's boyfriend listens to this religiously. And, you know, she's like 25. So you know, we have to give some context.
So we have to educate them a little bit.
So Marcia Yockey was a legend in this market. She did the weather for 35 years and was unique in that she was a woman in weather. There weren't many. Back then they called it a weather girl. And she was bizarre.
Yes.
She was wacky.
Yes.
Wacky would be a good way to put it.
Yes.
Very little filter, even less off the air. And people loved her. She was an institution. We all ride her coattails today. We stand on our shoulders. We pull on her ponytail. But you work with her day to day. So your relationship with her was a little different.
I did. I had a great relationship. She called me Webby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I like Webby better than Little Deanie, maybe.
She called me Webby. She'd be like, Webby. And so a lot of people don't know this, but Marcia, remember when Marcia would always say, all righty?
All righty.
Well, Marcia had a foul mouth.
Yes.
Marcia would cuss like a sailor. But alrighty was her cue that I can't cuss for the next 3.5 minutes.
Or 8 minutes, whatever her weathercast is going to be.
So she would do her first part of her weather, then they'd go to a commercial. Again, she would and cussing left and right, and then she would go, alrighty. And that would be her cue, like, I can't cuss now for the next 3.5 minutes.
Then the lights would go off, and she was right back at it.
Yeah.
So, but you guys, obviously with sports, you're at the mercy of weather. You know, if she went long, you'd have to go short and all that. Mike has told that story many times. But you also socialize with Marcia. People socialize more in that era, right?
You know, not only did we socialize, with each other, we with other stations as well. But yeah, Marcia and I were known to go out and have a couple of beverages after a newscast.
And she was known for that. But you actually talked. Did you ever fly with her? By the way, she used to fly this Yellow Piper Cub.
No,
I never went up.
I've never went up. I was at a 4th of July party one time down on the river, and I heard this noise that didn't sound like a boat. And I looked out, and here comes Marcia down the river about 4 feet off the water, and she would come up to a boat, and she'd go, up to 15 feet, and then back down, and we're just going right over the water.
Just on her way to Newburgh,
4 or
probably.
5 feet, yeah. But then, of course, there's always the infamous story of did Marcia or didn't Marcia fly under the twin bridges?
Yeah.
So Marcia always contended, I wouldn't do that. I would lose my license.
Right.
I would,
the FAA doesn't like that.
Yes. And so there was one night we were sitting at Mattingly's 23, and we'd maybe had 2 or 3 beverages
You'd
at
been
this
there
point.
a sufficient length of time.
Yeah. And I said, Marcia, come on. I said, you can tell me. I'm not going to tell anybody. And I think at this point we can tell the story. She's long gone. She's not going to lose her license.
Yeah.
And she, again, the Webby, she gave me the come here closer. Webby, come here. And she said, I'll clean it up. You're gosh darn right. I flew under the bridge.
And so we have it documented, verified now
it is confirmed
from Dean Webster. That's a great story about Marcia. I also wondered too. We work with several sports people here over the years, and one guy that we work with who's now done really well, Dave Shore, has worked up through the sports ranks, ESPN and whatnot. But you guys always ribbed him because he gets starstruck. He'd meet some of these professional athletes, and people, and just be like gaga about it. Did that ever happen to you, or when you met your idols, so to speak?
It's funny because like my two sports idols growing up were Lou Brock and Bob Gibson. I was a big Cardinal fan, and I met both of them, and it didn't, never. I wasn't in awe. I mean, I was very happy that I got to meet them.
Yeah.
The only person that I ever met, and I just was like, I mean, he was like bigger than life, and he was such a short man, was Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron walked in a room, and he was only 5'10".
Oh, I thought he was like 7 feet tall as well. Okay.
He walks in. He's 5'10", but he should have been He looked like he was 8 feet tall. He was bigger than life and such a genuine, nice man. But when
And the home run guy, right?
Yeah.
He had 714
Well, he ended up,
it was more than that. But
he won. He set the record, and then he was at 755 is when he actually.
Yeah.
retired.
How'd you happen to run into him?
He was in town for prostate cancer awareness. I think was seriously. I think it was because
So you went on down, you know.
but he was in doing promoting that, and but he was and one of the people go, oh, did you get a lot of autographs? And I'm like, I don't ever remember getting an autograph from anyone except for Hank Aaron. And I took my Sports Illustrated that's 715 where he broke the record.
Right.
I took it in and I had him sign it, and I have it framed. It's in my basement right now in my man cave.
Yeah, a good conversation piece, right?
And it is framed, and one of the few things that I ever had signed.
What was the biggest thing you ever did, like broadcasting, where highest pressure thing you had to do? Now, that the story with going to the Aces game, that sounded pretty high pressure, but there must have been one that kind of stands out where you're like, well, I'm really proud I did that, or, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
You think of one?
I don't know. The NCAA tournaments, again, one of those, you got to cut it close, and we flew day of for like a 12:30
Wow.
game, and by myself with gear and relying on other stations to let you in to edit, and back then, as you said, the editing was cumbersome, and
the equipment was too. You carry the camera was heavy, the tripod was heavy, you had batteries and lights and all that stuff.
And you couldn't actually shoot the game. You had to take CBS's feed. You
Sure.
couldn't actually have your camera inside the arena, and so there was just several hurdles, and pulling off that people at home went, oh, wow, that was great coverage, and not having a clue that I didn't see the first probably 6 or 7 minutes of the game coming from the airport, cutting it too close.
Yeah. Did you ever get sent to a Super Bowl where you didn't get to go in? We never did that to you. That might have been later.
Yeah.
They would always, like if NBC had the Super Bowl, we would often try to send a reporter, but that didn't mean you had credentials to go in the stadium.
No.
So we had a lot of, we're cooking hot dogs out here with the whoever fans they were.
Yeah.
I remember a little adventure we had. We had both gone, it was a Friday night, and you're going to remember this when I set it up, Fall Festival week, and you were at Wrights Bowl. I was sent to the Fall Festival to do live shots. David James was here in the studio. And being the weather guy, I should have known this, but it didn't look at the radar, didn't really worry about it. We get out, and just a little before 6 o'clock, this thunderstorm comes up out of nowhere. Opened up. And lightning. Well, once you get lightning, photographer doesn't want to have a 40-foot metal stick up in the air. So both photographers said, no, you got to go back. So you were at Wrights. You were close enough you could get back here and maybe do the sports if you hurried. I was close enough I could probably get back here and do the weather. So I ran up, literally ran to get a car, came up, parked on the front step. I'm soaked. It's like, soaked. You can see your nipple through your shirt soaked. And
I forgot this is a podcast.
Right.
Say that. Okay.
I came running into the studio, and David was sitting there, and I made it. I made my time. It wasn't pretty, but I made it. I was out of breath. I was wet, as described, T-shirt contest. And so I did my thing and sat down. But you didn't make it. And so Mike was, we'll say, indisposed. And they were like, you got to get out here and do sports. Oh, he ran out and did it cold. And then at the very last scene, they used to show a wide shot of the set. You came in and shook everybody's hand or patted us on the back or something, and then faded to black. And we thought, we saved the day. We walked in, and we had a supervisor at that time who we had not really seen that side of him, and it set him off for whatever reason. That really, really made him mad. It was the first time I really had been dressed down, yelled at by anybody. And I just remember looking at you like, oh, I thought we saved the day, but certain people were not happy, and so we got our first beating on that. But then the funny part of the story is, do you remember what happened after he delivered his beating, so to speak? It wasn't a beating, but he was upset.
I don't.
Well, then either you or David, so I didn't think it looked that bad. And everybody who was circled around and said, yeah, it wasn't that bad at all. Yeah. And so he retreated. And, I think then the balance was set in there. But do you remember that particular episode?
David saved us, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. We hid behind David for that one.
He had a lot of clout. It was good to hide behind him.
And I remember another time we were at Thunder on the Ohio. Do you remember this? And they stuck us in some 100-mile-an-hour boat, and we were supposed to be broadcasting from out there.
I was not in the boat, Jeff. I was not.
We couldn't see out. Do you remember this?
No.
Maybe they moved me out, but we were supposed to buzz around and talk about it. I had a wireless mic, and of course it cut out as soon as we left the dock, so they got nothing.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
well, we all remember
I
various mics cutting out, but so you did broadcasting for how long then?
So I was at Channel 25 for 3 years, and I was Channel 14 for 12, so 15 years total.
Oh, so a good chunk of your career, and then it was a good stepping stone. You still haven't practiced psychology yet, but with your extensive knowledge of abnormal, maybe you could put out your shingle in retirement.
Well, you know what? Some of the clients that I've had over the years,
and coworkers too,
yeah, that has come in handy.
May qualify. And I know you're retiring and you're moving away, right?
I am not retired, Jeff. I'm still working. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay,
still working.
Well, I need to fact check myself.
Yeah, so I did sell my agency several years ago to Shepherd Insurance, and I still work for them in mergers and acquisitions. So I go out and look for agencies for us to buy, and so I am moving to Florida, relocating, and we're going to be opening some offices down there. So we've already got 4, and I just have one that's going to open April 1st in Naples. So, yeah, I'm down there still working.
Okay,
yeah,
all right. I didn't mean to write you off so soon, that. But I appreciate you coming out here and sharing a few of the old stories. And we're going to do another podcast on mergers and acquisitions. So if you could wait in the green room, we'll bring you right back out.
I thought we were going to talk about life insurance.
Well, we can, and I'm sure you will. Well,
there go the listeners.
That's one more question. Why do insurance salesmen get such a bad rap? Like, is it just did you run into that? Because you think, oh, there's an insurance salesman calling me. Yeah. They're bugging me again. And what is that?
And the ones that really get the bad end of it are the life insurance. It's like, oh, I'm trying to sell you something. Well, when they need it, they're pretty happy they have it.
Right.
So I kind of had to get that over that myself, that I am helping people. These people need this because down the road they're going to need. And when you deliver that first check to somebody,
you see the other side of it.
It is very gratifying.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. So, but it's kind of an old
it
joke about the insurance salesman and avoiding them and trying to slip out.
Yep.
So thank you for your service. How about that? All right, Dean Webster, thanks for coming out to Inside Look. If you'd like to hear more stories with Dean or anybody else, you can go on to Inside Look, search Inside Look with Jeff Lyons wherever you get your podcast, or you can watch it on the 14 News YouTube channel. Thanks for watching Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons.